Hey, merry holidays, miss. Again, this is the week of reruns of Broken Brain holiday back issues. This one is an episode where Lee Messersmith and I talk a little bit about some of the real more in-depth ways to carve out boundaries and happiness around the holidays. Some of those dynamics that we get into that sometimes we have a hard time in the holidays because of external pressures. And sometimes we have been trained so well through various experiences we've had or whatever to where our internal systems actually turn against us to make those things stressful as well. So this is actually an episode that I really loved. It was several years ago that we did it, and so I just thought it was worth dropping again during this week of reruns. Just a quick reminder, the 2 new holiday episodes will be out in a couple days. Today is Tuesday, the 21st of December, so have a couple new ones coming out in a few days. But thought I would share this one with you today.
The Broken Brain.
August, as long as you pay for it this year.
I did pay for it. I didn't steal it. All right, you say something.
So, welcome to the Broken Brain podcast this morning. It's good to see every one of you again.
All of your smiling faces. Your filing smaces. It's almost tax season. Get ready to file those smaces. Don't think too hard about that. This is going to be our Christmas, or I should say holiday episode. I'm joined here by Lee Messersmith.
Oh, hey, it's good to see you, Dwight.
Hey, Lee. How are you?
Life's been pretty good. Stressful, birthdays, and then this holiday season crap.
We're doing that again this year.
Oh, that's too bad.
It'd be nice once in a while to just let it go.
I know, it would alleviate a lot of stress.
Let it go. Don't hold it back anymore, everyone.
Let it go. Something about building a castle in snow. I don't know.
You really know that song. I'm impressed. We had a listener request, and so I got the brain trust together. The brain trust is me and Lee.
That's right.
If Mike was here, it wouldn't be as intelligent. Oh, yeah, take that, Mike, for not answering my text about today. I know you're listening, sitting on your new couches. That's an inside joke for 3 people. So we got a listener request, Lee, for asking if we would address this with, and that's why I think it equally works for the holidays, whether we are talking about the Christmas holiday or any of the other many holidays that people usually celebrate around the winter solstice time. This time.
That's right.
The request was, can we talk about what it's like to effectively manage relationships and expectations over the holidays? The holidays, of course, traditionally can be very stressful. People always talk about that, particularly when it comes to family.
Yeah, I would say
expectations.
Well, I would say the family thing. That's kind of the first thing I was thinking about when we were talking, when you brought it up to me earlier. That I guess for me, it's that splitting of families, right? That you have, I think, to be honest, I think there's some families that you like, some family you like better than the others. And I think that's a natural thing. And for me, I usually kind of want to spend more time with the family I like. But I also think out of respect, you're supposed to share it. I'm not sure. I don't.
Would you like to take any open positions here on names of who you'd rather spend time with more than your extended family?
If I wasn't worried about getting a Christmas gift from them. Wait, did I say that out loud?
It's all right. No one's listening except for all the thousands of people that are listening, Lee.
I would say that one cool thing that my mom and dad have done that I've really loved is I've got some family down south, and they kind of choose. They choose, one holiday they're down there and one holiday they're up here. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do because I don't get upset with it, even though I know some people probably would, but they have the ability.
Well, that's actually a really good point because I think that with any time that you have an issue of expectations that's making stress, trying to create flexibility is a really good way to deal with those expectations. If you can be a little bit more flexible on how you do things. And I'll say for myself, it's actually living thousands of miles away from your family of origin is not something I don't necessarily recommend that as a strategy, but if you find yourself in that situation, you may notice that my wife's family, for example, lives around here. I grew up in Pennsylvania, which is 3,000 miles away from here, about. And so we don't ever have that where are we going this holiday? unless we have already planned a major trip, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So there's that stress that I hear other people, they'll talk about that sense of stress of which family are we going to go to, mom's family, dad's family, and especially, I have a friend of mine who tries to go to 3 Thanksgiving dinners every Thanksgiving because of a divorce of parents and new families and maybe a lack of them getting along, and let me just try to hit these big 3, my wife's family and my
That's way too
mom's
much
family
turkey.
and my dad's family. Well, that's a subjective opinion.
Okay, that's a lot of turkey.
Well, so, you can easily, and maybe some people enjoy, if they live in a really tight geographical area, that's fine. If the expectation isn't giving you stress. But what you just said was you got family down south.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if we go there, we can't go anywhere else. We're just going there, right?
Yeah.
So you make a decision. You just make a choice.
I think you have to like them enough, though, because seriously, if I'm going to go down somewhere and I have to spend time with them and not go anywhere else, that kind of also changes things a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think taking into account the way people are going to react, because if you know family, you know how big of a deal it is. I've heard many, many people that have said, so this is a conglomeration. This is no one out there specific who's going to go. It's me. Many, many people will say things to me like, well, if my parents have this big family thing every Christmas, and if we aren't there, if we are literally in the state in which they live, they would be angry and hurt.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I had the exact same situation. Wow, that sounds real. Wow. Are we like the only 2 that have this issue? Because
yeah, it's just you, actually.
Oh, just me? Oh, great. It's a good thing I don't think any of those guys listen. But no, I've had that happen where there's traditions. And maybe that's kind of this next part is there's traditions that families have, right? Those things that they've had for however many years, but now, right? Kids are older. Kids are now married. They have now grandkids,
their own kids. Yeah.
But it's almost like they're still expecting these same traditions. But I always thought that the point of a tradition was to pass it on and not to only keep it one way, because then I think everybody kind of starts to resent the tradition.
And I really think that's a great point. And I tease, but yeah, there is that in my family, my wife's family. Everybody's family has these expectations where it's like if we don't do, whether it's the little kids acting out a little Christmas pageant, or whether it's not, it will branch out other holidays, to other traditions of lighting candles together for Hanukkah or something like that. That hopefully was something that people do enough that I wasn't offensive to all of you Hanukkah celebrators out there. I hope that works. I know it has something to do with lighting candles. Please tell me more. Tell me where I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the menorah.
Yeah. So, do we do those things together, or as our lives get more complicated and our own children get older, do we end up doing more of those things apart? I remember it might have been last year or a couple of years ago where we were discussing meeting up on Christmas morning with my wife's brothers and their families. And when are we going to go to Grandma and Grandpa's house? And it was interesting because in the past the time has been like super early in the morning. And now, with all the kids getting a little older, it's like super not early in the day.
Yeah.
To where it's like, hey, should we come over at 9 or 10? How about 3? And when you're having that conversation, it can be a little shaky, a little jarring even to say we're changing up a tradition.
Yeah.
And so, and it's hard on everybody. But yet there's different priorities that I think you're running into. And so one thing that helps is being able to be flexible for yourself, being able to know what to expect from your family as far as reactions go.
Yeah.
And then I guess trying to be sensitive and showing some empathy to that and saying like, how are we going to deal with it?
Well, I'd say that, I think, like you said, being aware of how they're going to react or respond. Definitely, there's the passive aggressive family members, the ones that are, hey, do you mind if we stay home this year? We're just, for example, my family, getting married and now having, a big group of people together, instead of moving 3 people to one place, it's now moving 6 or 7, right? And if there's a puppy or a dog, right, you got to move all 8 people to one specific place for an hour, but it takes an hour to get there. But then when you say, I feel like we got to stay home, right? You get that response of, oh, I can understand that. That's fine. We'll sure miss you. It's too bad you can't make it. Right? And for me, I kind of like want to like slap them when they do that. That's me personally. But makes me feel for all those other people that are really having to deal with that.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because there's a range there of like just assertive communication, which is like, oh, we'll miss you, but don't think about it, don't consider it. And then there's the, oh, we'll miss you, single tear trickling down my cheek, and I turn on the Cats in the Cradle, or something. What that well-known Christmas carol.
Cradle and the silver spoon. Wait, was that the right
Little
song?
boy blue and the man on the moon. No, we'll get together, Dad. I don't know when, but I know we'll
Be
something.
together soon. Yeah.
We obviously both know that song as well.
Yeah, really well.
So other well-known Christmas songs. So the more passive aggressive, where I'm going to put pressure on you, and then again, a lot of people. And you're fortunate if you're not in this situation, anyone who's listening, but a lot of people that actually will process their feelings in therapy about their family, they find that there's actually an aggressive reaction sometimes where it's like, how dare you do that to me? You have to be here.
Oh, yeah,
tomorrow.
they take it these people take it as a personal attack.
Yeah.
It's almost like, well, you don't like me anymore because you don't want to be here. No, maybe it's just the fact that there's a massive amount of dog hair all over the couch. And I have a 1-year-old that crawls all over the place, and I don't want to pick him up and look and realize that he's grown a facial hair. So, but I get it. And you're right. It's
because I've been at work so much listening to the Cats in the Cradle, and then he grew facial hair because he grew up without me.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the dog hair. Yeah.
And all because I wanted to stay home for Christmas, and now they're angry.
And so I think there's different reactions that you have to have with that. So if we take those a thing at a time, somebody who's just assertively communicating and saying, I wish you could come, but I understand that you can't, then I think you're competing with your own internal negotiating against what you want. If you really are like, hey, we're going to do some of our own tradition, we're going to stay at home this year instead of doing the other thing, or I'm going to violate someone else's expectations because my family and I have a need. It sounds a little violent that way, but that's essentially what's happening is you're breaking an expectation, you're doing it on purpose, and you might have an internal sense of guilt there. If the other person is cool with it, like if your parents are like, we get it, your family's growing up. Boy, can we Skype you some other time, or can we do something else alternate? And they're being assertive and communicating openly how they feel. Then you have to look inside yourself and be like, what do I really want? What do I really need? And they're supporting me. And am I going to go through with what I really need?
I think that's actually the best place to start is first, right, trying to figure out if someone does have expectations, right? What are your own personal expectations? What is it that you want from the idea of the holidays, right? Is your goal just to go visit places so you can eat, right? Or is it to go visit so that there's some gifts to receive? Or is it to go and spend time? And if it's about spending time, then, you make a plan. And maybe go back a little farther and say, okay, knowing that it's coming up, for some people that creates a lot of anxiety. Like you said, I've talked with different people like, oh my gosh, the holidays are here. I don't know where to go. First, make your plan. Before you approach anyone else, make your own plan and see what you want to do first.
Yeah. And that actually will go through all of these, I think, because with the passive aggressive response. And there's really different kinds of that. You get passive aggressive to you breaking an expectation, like if you're not coming over and I'm going to single tier and I'll just send you texts all day mentioning all these things we did without you. But then there's also passive aggressive while you are there, which is also pretty common, where people go, they're like, I enjoy my family, I love them, I want to be with them, but I know it's going to turn political or religious, or it's going to turn into a big argument, or so-and-so's going to run from the table crying at some point, and
like a mother-in-law or someone didn't get the gift they wanted, and so then they're angry about it. Oh, wait. That never happens.
Like Lee's channeling something. I don't know.
I can feel it.
It's unique to his experience, so no one will know out there what he's talking about. But yeah, if there is any kind of an element of that going on, that can go either way. So with passive-aggressive, I think, to be honest, you have to, once again, take stock of what you want. What am I getting out of this? What are the trade-offs? What are the costs and the benefits? And then I think the plan also helps.
Yeah. I've always liked the plan. I mean, I've kind of been a planner anyways with my life, and that's probably why with my parents it's helped out. Mm-hmm. But it's nice to know, hey, this is the plan. I can plan that Thanksgiving, right, they're going to be here. So whether that means we're doing it at my house, their house, or we're visiting, no matter what, I'm spending that time with them that holiday. So that eliminates the other one, and gives me a little bit of a reprieve.
So part of that is actually having made that decision. Like you had said that you like that about how your parents did things or do things still. You know, you make a decision and then you just kind of deal with whatever the consequences are of that decision. That's what I'm going to deal with. There's an acceptance there that can help. As we're talking about this, I'm kind of chuckling. I think it was last year, although we're both near the age where all the years kind of run together into one big year.
I think after 30, that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, I think so. It seems like it just keeps accelerating. And I believe it was last year, there was a popular Saturday Night Live sketch that went viral. It was off of Adele's, it must have been, because I think this song came out last year, but it was Adele's video for the song Hello.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a sketch that they did where they basically showed a family having Thanksgiving, and they showed some of the pitfalls of like someone would come in and someone made a comment about trans people, and then someone else came in and made a comment about, whatever, it's just some politically hot topic at the moment. And it was like this one family, I don't know if it was their house, it doesn't really matter, but like the mom and the kids, they would run and hit play on like a boombox, and it would play Hello by Adele. And immediately what would happen, it was hit the chorus and everybody would just like get into it. And it got sillier and sillier, of course. Every time they hit it, people would have like a wig like Adele or the long nails or something like. But they would get really into like singing Adele's thing, and it would just like be a conversational palate cleanser. Like it would reset
kind of
the
like
conversation.
ginger. Kind of let it go, and
it's like that piece of ginger when you're having sushi. Is exactly what it was like.
That's great. I think that would probably cleanse most people's palate, anyways.
But it's funny because I remember sharing that with a few of my clients last year, and I know of at least one of them who came back and said, "We actually totally did that."
Wow.
I don't know if they literally boomed it out or they just kind of like with their own family sang it to each other in stressful moments.
I honestly think I would
into a joke and laughed.
What was that show? And he's carrying the boombox on his shoulder. God, no, I can't. Is it? And that's what
it's a great
Don't
story.
You forget about me. The Breakfast Club, is that?
Yeah. I believe that's the one you're thinking of. Yeah, not the one where he holds it up.
Yeah.
Never say breathe or whatever. No. Don't breathe.
Yeah.
The one with the blind man who murders the kids. Yeah, that's what.
Oh yeah, we're totally on there.
No, yeah.
This kind of goes along with the movie The Family Stone. Have you seen that? And their dinner, right? Their holiday dinner just goes horrible because someone they're asserting their opinion, and it's not even about the holiday itself. We're now talking about a completely different subject. Hey, so here's a question. Maybe we need to figure out what topics do we avoid during the holidays.
I think that's a really good point. I find that especially with for many people around this time of year, it's essentially it can be a very religious holiday. Maybe we were talking about most of the winter holidays here, like the big two, Christmas and Hanukkah, are decidedly religious holidays.
You totally just dissed Kwanzaa.
That's true. I don't know enough about it to know if it was religious. I don't want to be offensive on it.
Oh, that's a good point. I think I probably just made some people mad.
Thanks for that, Lee.
You're welcome.
So email that stuff to Lee, not me. Don't send that one to the Twitter. So, yeah, you look at that and but on the same hand, they're also cultural, right? I mean, Christmas, for example, is a big American holiday, and lots of people who don't even believe in God would celebrate Christmas.
True.
And a lot of them have family traditions as well that kind of transcend how they are, how religiously connected they are. So when you have something that's like that, and by the way, I don't know, I'm just going to get the word out on this in case anybody wants to Google this. There was a presidential election in the United States recently.
I guess that did happen just a little bit ago, huh?
Yeah. I know we haven't been talking about it, and there's no real emotional feelings, so none of our clients have been talking about it.
So they elected, was it, who won, Barack Obama?
It was, I think he's going to stand for another 8 years.
All right, good.
I think is what everyone decided that they wanted.
So third and a fourth term, that's good.
Yeah, so he's pulling the full FDR, I think, is what that was in the voting booth. Wasn't that a box you could check?
Yes.
Go full FDR.
Yes.
That's always, people don't know this, but that's always an option. So you've got like a lot of reasons for people to be heated and to talk about things that might be very difficult to talk about. Now, I mean, I guess the simplest way is to just say, don't talk about things you know will piss someone off there.
Yeah. Let's say
But-
if there's some hot button issues.
That also assumes sensitivity and empathy.
Are you saying because we have to be empathic about it, or?
I'm saying you'd have to be somewhat sensitive already to know that. So, I mean, the people that are listening to this who are already aware of what those issues are, y'all probably know what you're not going to bring up. But what about Uncle Bob?
I think then you have like an Uncle Bob playbook, right? Okay, if Uncle Bob brings up Christ, oh man, right? ABC, right? Or if he brings up, I don't know,
Donald Trump.
yeah, Donald
Or
Trump,
Hillary Clinton.
right?
Yeah.
Then, or maybe one of those like easy buttons from Staples, right? And then that way we can kind of change it every time instead of using the Adele song.
And just like have an actual buzzer.
Yeah.
Or an air horn would be good.
Ooh, an air horn next to Uncle Bob.
It reminds me. Okay, so that reminds me of not Salvador Minuchin. I think he's dead. Who's the other Family guy? John Gottman.
Oh.
Family therapy guy.
Yeah,
Boy,
that guy.
that's a real like deep cut nerdy psychology thing for you to chuckle at if you get it. But John Gottman is still alive, and that's all I wanted to say. He is a well-known family and relationship counselor, relationship researcher. They say he's the guy who can predict a divorce in one session or whatever. And
Yeah.
I saw him at a training, and he said that he keeps a bell, like a hotel lobby bell that you ding with the little thing on the top, He keeps one in his office, and whenever one spouse will express contempt for the other spouse, he'll ding the bell and say, whoa, hold on, that was contemptful what you just said. You need to rephrase that.
I'm going to go get a bell.
So now future clients of Minor Lee's, if they come in and we have a bell, we didn't steal that from John Gottman. That's always been there.
Yeah, no.
Well, let me edit that to say it was our idea.
Yeah.
So Lee and I thought of this cool idea. There we go. I'll just drop
And
that back.
John
a few
Gottman took it
seconds.
from us.
John Gottman said, "Thanks, guys. You're my heroes." So anyway, you can actually. So you're saying like a literal sound cue to be like Uncle Bob.
Well, why
shut
not?
up."
Like, because all of a sudden you get all these people that are angry, right, and frustrated. And if you distract them, kind of like with little kids, right, when they start arguing and fighting, right, if you were to like, and I kind of tell some of my clients this, if you were to squirt them with you take a water gun, right, and you're like, boom.
Like a
this,
dog,
This kid's
like
like
he's
angry.
spraying.
Yeah. The kid's angry, right, and can't calm down. But as soon as you squirt them with water, they kind of look at you. And I just made a move for everybody that didn't see that.
Yeah.
And-
No, they saw.
Right. They calm down and they're like, oh, so what if we had squirt gun for Uncle Bob?
And just issue one to everyone. So
As
here's
they
an
come
idea.
in, that's a great, like a doorbuster.
Doorbuster prize for
If you're here early enough, you get.
many people open a gift on Christmas Eve, and it's like if you get here before 3, you get a super soaker. And then I'm picturing Uncle Bob be like, "Well, so let me. You hear the news about the safe spaces in college campuses?"
Oh, yeah, that's enough.
I think I just hit the microphone there too. And then make him go outside in the freezing cold because everyone lives where we live, and it's cold. It's not cold everywhere. Yeah. Well, so some version of that would be good. Actually, you know what's funny? As you're saying that, I'm thinking there are some families where you could literally have some level of a pranky, playful, overt, hey, reset the topic, Bob. Right?
I kind of like it.
Yeah. And then some families, if you said that or did that, it would be so over. Like there's going to be an estrangement that results from it.
Oh, yeah.
Which I would still maintain is not necessarily a bad outcome with this particular Uncle Bob that we imagined. By the way, apologies to anyone who is an uncle and is named Robert or Bob out there, but stop being terrible.
I think my
If you
Uncle
don't
Bob
wanna be an
passed away a
example.
while ago, so we're good.
You literally had an Uncle Bob?
Actually, I have an Uncle Robert.
Oh, no.
Oh, whoops.
Sorry, Rob. Sorry, Lee's uncle. So, this fictional, not based
Fictional,
on anyone alive, Uncle Bob. So what about in those situations where someone's like, I don't want to create a rift in my family, and so I have to be a little more covert about it. I don't mean sneaky, I just mean not as obvious. I can't say, shut up, Uncle Bob.
Well, what about like taking a smoke break?
There you go.
I think you should just take up smoking just for the holidays.
Well, it might be a good idea. What would you suggest they smoke?
Honestly, anything. A straw, a stick, a little marijuana. I mean, if you're in California, you've really got a great
You've had a
option.
great system in place. For that. Yeah, I actually...
Tell them you got to go light the candle, the menorah.
I've never been a smoker, but I used to take smoke breaks at one of my jobs because I noticed that those that did spent a little time outside. They had like multiple breaks throughout the day. No one gave them any crap for it. So I would just I would jokingly call them smoke breaks where I would just take a walk.
Oh, yeah.
We used to do that at a treatment facility where I worked too. Not try to get the kids to smoke, but what we would do is if someone was getting embroiled in a like power struggle with a kid.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I think you and I have talked about this before on another episode, maybe about interventions that are non-lethal. Well, they were all non-lethal.
Non-lethal.
Let me specify that. Non-violent, non-controlling. Where we would go up to the staff member that was caught in the middle of the power struggle, and we'd say, "Hey, do you want to grab a cigarette?" Or "There's a phone call for you." And didn't matter if anyone was smoked. It was just like a code for, clearly you're not really inviting me to that. Let's take a break.
Yeah, I think taking a break that's the easiest thing. Just kind of walk out. Just say, hey, I need to go. I'm going to go outside, grab some fresh air.
I think sometimes we underestimate how powerful in anxiety reduction the fact is that I can walk out of a place. Especially as an adult. But in a family setting, of course, our kids can have this right as well. If we tell our children, you have the right to walk out of a room. And even if someone's a little disappointed that you walked out of that room, I'm not disappointed.
Yeah.
You're not in trouble with me if you walk out while Uncle Bob is talking about, I don't know, white nationalism.
Mating rituals of the KKK.
And espousing racism or something. You can go out of the room. It's okay. I might do the same thing. And so that's one thing to do. I found that having power over your ability to leave a room actually can reduce anxiety for a lot of people. So much so that I've known people that will go to, say, a meeting, a family gathering, a church, something like that, to where they might get a little social anxiety. But in the back of their mind, they're like, hey, I can always get up and go. And I don't have to go forever. I can go to the bathroom, even if I don't need to go. I can go to a water fountain or get a drink. I can go. And sometimes the knowledge that I can go and giving myself permission actually is good enough that I don't actually have to always exercise it.
So speaking of the bathroom, I was talking with one of my young clients, and they kept asking him why he was disappearing. Like, hey, you got to go to the bathroom. And when I was talking to him in my office, he goes, actually, you know what I'm doing? I'm taking the phone in the bathroom so I can have a break because nobody bugs me. How ingenious is that? This little kid thinks, hey, I go take a break, I get away, and I'm perfectly fine. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting where we have those little natural breaks that you can take. So, I mean, it can help that if you give yourself permission to do that. And once again, we've talked a little bit about the assertive person who's easier to deal with because you can just tell them what's up. The passive aggressive, which you just kind of have to stay the course of what you want, and you have to not try to solve their whiny problem for them. And then there's the aggressive. And let's say if we turn Uncle Bob up from being just that annoying loudmouth to being like the aggressive guy who's like, hey, we didn't finish our conversation earlier. I got to hear what you think about late-term abortion.
Wow.
Around the Christmas tree.
I'm pretty sure that's when you taser him.
That's what I was going to say. No, then you might have to say, at that point, do I have an overt boundary? Do I have an obvious boundary? Going to the point of your plan, you said like ABC. And I don't know if you meant it this way, but I'm going to turn it into A is change the subject. B is leave the room.
Yeah.
And then C is I'm uncomfortable talking about late-term abortion while we're opening our Christmas Eve jammas for the kids.
Exactly. And celebrating this Christ figure. I mean, wow. Talk about, this is heavy stuff.
Yeah. I think that sometimes we underestimate, once again, the power of a simple statement that is like, that makes me uncomfortable. And I think that can be a good way to approach it sometimes because you're taking responsibility for your own feelings. You're not saying, hey, stop talking about that. I disagree with your position.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that person's doing, is trying to have an argument about it or a discussion about it.
Yeah.
And if you're like, I don't want to talk about it.
I think acknowledging where you stand, like not where you stand in the topic, but just like you said, You know, I'm good. I don't need to talk about it. I'm good. Because then you're not, right? You're not condemning them. You're not telling them that this is probably the craziest thing you could ever bring up right now. And that, hey, you know what? You're an idiot. You don't say any of those things, even though you're thinking about every single one of them. But, you have that place to, and plus if, depending, like if you're at a table, right? Then if you have a spouse or a friend, right? And they can kick you to keep you quiet, or always liked code words. Those are my favorite, kind of. What was that? Muskrat from what show? Oh, was it Meet the Fockers? And she's like,
I didn't see it, so
yeah. And
I had to edit out the 2 minutes of silence while we tried to recall what show that was.
Yeah, Muskrat, and she goes like that just to kind of remember to keep him in line, and it's like, yeah, there we go.
So, I mean, there is always an option, too. And I don't want to say, we obviously are going to throw out a lot of, ideal communications options, right?
Yeah.
It is okay to decide, I'll just suck it up and sit through this for a minute for the greater good of peace in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's, super good at handling tough situations like Lee and myself always are. Our wives aren't listening, right? So they won't.
No.
Yeah. So no need to be contradicted, hopefully. It's okay to say to myself, and even to say to my kids, as part of that plan, Uncle Bob, he might go off about a thing. And if it's for under 30 seconds or more, or someone changes the subject eventually, I'm all right with that. And I think you have to take your own personality into account, because there are individuals that if I said to Uncle Bob, I'm uncomfortable with that, I would then panic throughout the rest of Christmas, and it would ruin it for me. So I'm going to lean more on the ignore it, start a side conversation, change the topic, leave the room kind of a thing. And I think that I don't know, that is okay if that's your solution. Part of it is giving yourself permission to have a solution that works for you.
I think that's the best idea right there, is what works best for you.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. One thing that's good to keep in mind, too, speaking of that whole empathy and sensitivity thing, is if you have a really strong political point of view, or you have a strong religious feeling, and you could be a person who's like, I'm going back to the family Christmas party, I'm not actively engaged in the religious pursuits that my parents are, and they're totally going to try to sell me. They're going to do little winky things of like, okay, we're putting your child in the performance piece now of the Christmas night or whatever, and here's this article you should read, or whatever it is that I'm dreading or worried about that they're going to do. Couple things. I think if I'm that person, and let's flip it too. If you're the other person who's like, I have a family member who's not, and they're coming to this thing, and I'm worried about them, and I have my belief system, and I wish they were still part of it because we had so much in common then, and I'm worried maybe that they wouldn't want their kid to be in this thing, but they're going to be there, and the other kids are, and there's all this kind of stuff, that's there. I think there's two things to keep in mind. One is know what doesn't bother you a lot. In other words, if there's something that kind of would bug you, but it doesn't cause resentment, and it doesn't make you want to end the relationship, and it's not that big a deal.
So if you can let it go, let it go.
If you can let it go, then let it go. Don't hold it back anymore. I have a compulsion to say the second line of Frozen whenever I say let it go.
I should probably watch that whole show, shouldn't I?
Oh, wow. I didn't know you didn't believe in happiness and joy when I invited you on the Christmas episode.
I'm more of an Ebenezer Scrooge kind of guy.
Only the first 15 minutes of the movie, though. After that, it goes downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really good and mad and angry
the first
and everything.
Act.
And then,
yeah. They're really a first act Christmas Carol fan. So, knowing what you can let go is really important, I think. And then also there's the conversation piece of if there is something like the family Christmas play, and you're like, oh, I don't know if my siblings' kid will want to be in that, or if they'll want them to be in that, or I don't know if I want my kid to be in that position. That's where you have to make a decision. Are you in a family where you can talk about it and say, hey, I do want to do this, or I don't want to do this, or please feel free to do this. I don't care, I had a client who actually said one of the most freeing things for them was to tell their family, when you're trying to comfort us in this time of need that we're going through, I don't mind if you say we're praying for you.
Yeah.
Even though they weren't someone who believed in prayer themselves.
Yeah.
And that actually, when they said that, that opened the door a little bit to where they could talk a little bit about, oh, you're okay, so I don't want to offend you. So, yeah, you can say that. And that opened the door for them to talk about family events a little bit eventually. Because they were okay.
That awkwardness is the worst. I mean, where you're sitting there and you don't know what to say, or you don't know, okay, is this going to offend them? Not that you should have to worry about all those things, but out of respect, you do. And, I have, there's some people that I know, right, for like better words, that, when any type of like conflict comes up, oh man, they make the conflict worse because then they say, oh, we need to go right now. And then they like leave and they make it known, right? They make their presence known. Hey, we have to leave right now.
We have to leave because we're mad.
Exactly. And, it's like, just say what you need to say and then go if you need to go. I don't mind. Nobody cares. But
yeah, I think it's good. And then knowing, because then you can communicate the things that are important to you. And my measure for that is always, if there's something that you didn't say that would cause you to resent the other person, you probably need to find a way to say it. And part of this is also not putting off communication until we're driving to the family party.
Yeah.
Or we're there.
Yeah, 5 minutes before you walk in the door is probably not the best time to approach all that stuff.
Shoot a text that says, don't ask about green sweaters or we're going to flip out.
Yeah.
Or tell your family, don't mention the green sweaters in grandma's house. They're going to flip out or whatever. It is. Green sweaters is the most controversial thing that happened this year, right? Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
I'm pretty sure the green sweaters and...
It's good to try to set up a little bit of a plan beforehand and do whatever communicating you can beforehand so that everybody knows what you're expecting when you get there.
Yeah, I think planning is the best way to go.
Yeah, I think that seems to be what we keep coming back around to. And I'll just say one more thing about expectations. I think that being flexible, once again, I mean, that's one of the psychological traits that really allows for happiness is a lack of rigidity. And I'm one of these. I'm very bad at this myself. I know this. My own tendency is, for example, there's an event around here called the Festival of Trees. It's put on by Primary Children's Medical Center. Wonderful, some buzz marketing there for Primary Children's Medical Center and Intermountain Healthcare in Utah. But in Salt Lake City, there's a big children's hospital, and they do this thing every year where it's for charity. And we go there, and they have these trees, Christmas trees, false trees, that are decorated with like prizes and toys. And so organizations and families will donate this tree, and they'll have hundreds of these trees, and they'll have a silent auction where they sell them, and all the money goes to benefit patients. And each tree is dedicated to a patient. It's actually not only is it cool in the, I guess, commercial side of things, like it looks cool and it's really pretty Christmas decorations. It's also cool in that whole spiritual side of Christmas too, where it's very service oriented. And it has become like one of the launching signs, the triggers for my family that it's Christmas time now, because it happens right after Thanksgiving, and we'll usually go to it. There's that and a couple things that we do. I'm one of those people. I have to be very aware of this because my nature is, if we don't hit every one of those traditional things we do every year, I have a little mini panic attack, and I'm like, oh, this is ruined, and life sucks, and not to be dramatic, but that's my internal reaction. And so I need to try to be aware of that, and my wife is very helpful in this, of being like, trying to be aware of that part of me, but instead of saying like, yeah, it's fine that you're that way, let's just not talk about it. We've tried to talk about it and tried to be like, I just shouldn't take that out on everybody else. And if you know you're that kind of person, trying to purposefully be a little more flexible and say, hey, if we don't have cookies for Santa, we can put out biscuits with sugar on them or whatever. We can put out candy for Santa because he never gets candy. He always gets cookies. Isn't this clever, kids? And what I find is, especially when your kids are young, mostly they will take their leadership from you when you say, oh yeah, we're doing this. This is another thing you can do at Christmas, is leave out a cold pizza for Santa because it's awesome and he loves it.
That's the greatest idea ever. See, I think Santa needs a little bit of protein. So, I mean, a little cheese, a little pepperoni, a little ham.
A fry of a steak,
That's even better. Some good ideas.
There's a new tradition starting in the Messersmith household this year.
Yeah, it's steak for Santa. Santa sub for Santa. Same kind of thing.
That's a new podcast we'll be starting next year. Steak for Santa. You can tweet at us at Steak for Santa. Someone's going to grab that now that I said
I know.
it.
Never have to pay him for it. Great.
Mike Deniston, who's a movie reviewer who comes on here to talk about movies. Broken Brain listeners know him. He always grabs whatever Twitter handles whenever he has an idea for a project, or he always goes and registers them. So maybe he's doing it right now.
He's
Mike,
already done it.
Merry
Steak for
Christmas
Santa.
to you.
Great.
He's stolen that podcast idea.
But no, I'm with you, Dwight. I think being flexible, I think you hit it right on nail on the head.
Well, we hope that this is helpful to people out there, that when you're going into the holidays, that, try to be flexible, try to communicate, try to make a plan. If you're in a situation where you have your own family, look at those people as your allies, as you're going into these situations where you can try to plan together, and you can plan who's going to push play on the Adele CD. And to celebrate the holidays, I think we're going to go out on that traditional holiday song, Adele's Hello, and then see if we get a cease and desist letter.
I think we should do it. Hello? I can't remember the rest.
Is it me you're looking for? No, that's a different song.
Wow. That's... Whoa.
Thank you for listening to the Court Arts Podcast Network. To listen to more Court Arts shows, visit courtemparts.com.